My mom made me stand outside for an hour while 9 months pregnant, then she pushed me. My name is Lauren Mitchell, and I need to tell you what happened at my sister's baby shower. I was 9 months pregnant, 3 weeks from my due date. And my mother pushed me so hard I fell, hit a stone curb with my belly, and went into emergency labor. But to understand how we got there, I need to go back to the beginning. I grew up in Portland, Oregon as the oldest of two daughters. My sister Hannah is 5 years younger than me. Our parents, Patricia and Robert Mitchell, owned a successful chain of boutique hotels across the Pacific Northwest. Money was never an issue in our household. Love and equality, however, were a completely different story. Hannah was born with a congenital heart condition that required multiple surgeries throughout her childhood. My parents poured everything into her recovery, which I understood. I really did. What I didn't understand was why that attention never shifted back, even after she was declared completely healthy at age 12. By then, the pattern had been permanently set. Hannah was the precious one, the miracle child, the golden daughter who could do absolutely no wrong. And I learned pretty early to just be invisible. While Hannah received a brand new car for her 16th birthday, I was told that my part-time job at a local bookstore would teach me responsibility. When she struggled with basic algebra, my parents hired an expensive private tutor who came to the house 3 times a week. When I needed help with calculus in high school, my father handed me a library card and told me to figure it out myself. Hannah went to the University of Southern California on my parents' dime. Full tuition, room and board, spending money, everything. I went to Portland State on scholarships and student loans, working 20 hours a week at that same bookstore to cover what the financial aid didn't. The inequality didn't make me bitter, exactly. It made me independent. I graduated with honors in graphic design, landed a job at a marketing firm, and met Marcus Chun at a professional networking event. He was a software developer with kind eyes and this laugh that made my chest feel warm. We dated for 2 years before he proposed on a hiking trail overlooking the Columbia River Gorge. My parents attended our wedding, but they left early. Hannah had a stomach ache. She was 22 years old at the time. Marcus and I built a beautiful life together. We bought a modest house in a neighborhood with good schools, already planning for our future. When I got pregnant 2 years into our marriage, we were absolutely thrilled. I called my mother immediately, expecting at least some semblance of enthusiasm. "That's nice, dear," Patricia said in this flat voice. "But Hannah just got engaged. Can you believe it? To Drew Sutton, the investment banker. His family owns half of Lake Oswego." 3 months into my pregnancy, Hannah announced she was also expecting. Suddenly, my mother had time for baby conversations. Except every single conversation was about Hannah's pregnancy. Hannah's morning sickness was so much worse than normal. Hannah's cravings were so specific. Hannah needed these custom prenatal vitamins shipped all the way from Sweden. I worked until I was 7 months pregnant, saving money for maternity leave. Hannah quit her job as a social media coordinator immediately, claiming the stress was too much. My parents supported her financially, of course. Drew made good money apparently, but not enough to satisfy Hannah's sudden need for a designer nursery that cost more than my entire annual salary. Marcus noticed the disparity more than I did, probably because he hadn't grown up with it. After a particularly painful family dinner, where Patricia showed us 12 different shade options for Hannah's nursery walls while barely acknowledging my existence, Marcus held my hand in the car on the drive home. "You don't have to keep subjecting yourself to this," he said quietly. "They're my family," I replied, one hand rubbing my swollen belly. "They'll be this baby's grandparents." "Will they though?" Marcus asked. "Or will they just be Hannah's baby's grandparents?" I didn't have an answer for that. The baby shower invitation came when I was 8.5 months pregnant. Hannah was 6 months along, and Patricia had planned this elaborate garden party at their estate on Lake Oswego. The invitation was addressed only to me. No +1 for Marcus. When I called to ask if he could attend, my mother sighed dramatically. "Lauren, this is Hannah's day. We want to keep it intimate. Just family." "Marcus's family," I said. "You know what I mean." I should have declined right then. Marcus certainly thought I should. But some small, pathetic part of me hoped that seeing me this pregnant, this vulnerable, might trigger some kind of maternal instinct in Patricia. Maybe she'd realized she was about to have 2 grandchildren. Maybe things would finally balance out. I was so stupidly hopeful. The baby shower was scheduled for a Saturday in June. I was 37 weeks pregnant, and my doctor had cleared me for the outing with strict instructions to stay hydrated and sit down frequently. My due date was 3 weeks away, and I felt like I was carrying a bowling ball between my hips. Walking was uncomfortable. Standing for more than 10 minutes made my back scream in protest. Marcus drove me to my parents' estate. Their property sprawled across 3 acres with perfectly manicured gardens and a view of the lake. Growing up there, I'd always felt like I was living in a hotel. Beautiful, but completely impersonal. "Call me if you need anything," Marcus said, kissing my forehead before I got out of the car. "I mean it, Lauren. If anything feels wrong, you call me immediately." "It's just a few hours," I assured him, though my stomach was churning with anxiety that had nothing to do with the pregnancy. Marcus helped me out of the car, his hand steady on my elbow. I waddled toward the garden where I could already see white tents and elaborate balloon arrangements. Staff members bustled around with trays and decorations. Patricia had clearly spared no expense on this. My father appeared from the house looking uncomfortable in a polo shirt and khakis. Robert Mitchell was a tall man who'd spent his entire life in business suits. Casual wear seemed to pain him physically. "Lauren," he greeted me, barely glancing at my enormous belly. "Hannah's running late. You'll need to wait by the side entrance." Wait. I shifted my weight, feeling a sharp twinge in my lower back. "Dad, can I just sit down somewhere inside? My back is really killing me." "Your mother wants everyone to arrive together," he said, already walking away from me. "Just wait there." The side entrance was a small covered area near the service door, away from the main event. There were no chairs. I stood there with one hand on my aching back, watching staff members rush past me with floral arrangements and champagne flutes. 20 minutes passed, then 30. My feet were swelling in my shoes. The baby was pressing down hard on my bladder, and I desperately needed a bathroom. I waddled toward the main tent, thinking I could at least grab a chair, but Patricia materialized like some kind of designer-dressed guardian, blocking my path. "Where do you think you're going?" she demanded. "Mom, I really need to sit down. Can I just—" "Hannah isn't here yet." Patricia cut me off, her voice sharp. "We're not starting anything until she arrives. Go back and wait where your father told you." "But I'm pregnant," I said, hating how my voice cracked. "I've been standing for half an hour. Can't I just sit down somewhere while we wait?" Patricia's expression hardened into something I'd seen 1,000 times before. That particular look that said my needs were inconvenient, that my presence was merely tolerated. "No. We're still waiting for your sister. This is her day, Lauren. For once, try not to make everything about yourself." The words hit me like a physical slap. Make everything about myself? I'd spent my entire life shrinking into the background, accepting scraps of attention while Hannah basked in the spotlight. And now, 9 months pregnant, and in genuine pain, I was selfish for wanting to sit down? I returned to the side entrance. Tears burned in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. 45 minutes passed. Then an hour. My legs were trembling with exhaustion. Sharp pains shot through my pelvis with every small movement. The baby was heavy and low, and I knew from my prenatal classes that any unusual discomfort this late in pregnancy should be taken seriously. Finally, Hannah's white Mercedes SUV pulled into the circular driveway. She emerged looking absolutely radiant, in a flowing pink dress that perfectly showcased her 6-month bump. Drew followed behind her, carrying shopping bags from expensive boutiques. Hannah was glowing, laughing, without a care in the world. Patricia rushed over, gathering Hannah in this dramatic embrace. "My darling girl, we've been waiting." They walked right past me, without a single acknowledgement. Hannah's bump was neat and round, nowhere near the enormous, uncomfortable size of mine. She moved gracefully, while I felt like a waddling, swollen mess. I followed them to the garden tent, each step absolute agony. Guests had begun arriving. Friends of the family, cousins I barely knew, Hannah's college friends. There must have been 60 people there. A throne-like chair decorated with elaborate flowers sat at the center of the tent, obviously meant for Hannah. Patricia guided her to it like she was royalty. Hannah sat down with this grateful sigh, placing one hand on her belly with practiced elegance. Everyone cooed and took pictures. Cameras flashed. My mother beamed like Hannah had just accomplished something extraordinary by simply existing. I stood at the edge of the tent, shifting from foot to foot, desperately searching for any available seat. There were chairs along the sides, but they were all occupied. A few people glanced at my enormous belly with concern, but nobody offered me their seat. I made eye contact with my mother across the tent. She saw me standing there, saw my desperate discomfort. Emailed, "Can you see?" Patricia's eyes narrowed. She excused herself from Hannah's admirers and marched over to me, gripping my elbow hard enough to bruise. "What are you doing?" she hissed. "I need to sit down, Mom. Please. I've been standing for over an hour." "You're creating a scene," she whispered harshly. "Everyone is staring." "Because I can barely stand." Patricia's voice dropped to this venomous whisper. "You're disrupting the environment. This is Hannah's day, and you're making it about your discomfort. Leave." The world tilted sideways. "You want me to leave? I'm 9 months pregnant. You heard me. Get out." I stared at my mother, trying to find any trace of recognition, any acknowledgement that she was speaking to her daughter, her pregnant daughter who'd driven an hour to be here. There was nothing, just cold disdain. Something must have shown on my face because Patricia's expression shifted to outright disgust. She placed her hand on my shoulder and shoved me backward. I wasn't expecting it. My center of gravity was already completely off from the pregnancy. My balance was compromised. I stumbled backward, my arms windmilling as I tried to catch myself. My foot caught on the edge of the decorative stone border that lined the tent area. I fell hard. My hands instinctively went to protect my belly, but momentum carried me forward. The edge of the stone curb hit my stomach directly. Pain exploded through my abdomen. Sharp and immediate and absolutely terrifying. I heard myself scream, a sound that didn't even seem human. Liquid gushed between my legs. My water had broken, but there was too much liquid, and it was too warm. When I looked down, I saw red mixing with the clear fluid.
Blood.
Help, I gasped. Someone help me. People were screaming now. I saw faces above me, distorted by my panic and pain. Another contraction tore through me, violent and wrong. The baby was coming. 3 weeks early and coming fast. Call 911, someone shouted. Through the chaos, I heard Patricia's voice, shrill and panicked. What did she do? She's ruining everything. Hannah, don't look, sweetheart. A contraction ripped through me, stronger than anything I'd experienced in prenatal classes. This wasn't normal labor. This was an emergency. The fall had triggered something catastrophic. I heard tires squealing on the driveway. Marcus burst through the crowd, dropping to his knees beside me. His face was white, his hands shaking as he touched my face. I'm here, he said. Lauren, I'm here. Breathe, baby. Just breathe. The baby? I sobbed. Marcus, something's wrong. Ambulance is coming, he said, but his eyes were terrified. Patricia appeared above us, her face a mask of horror. Not horror for me, I realized. Horror for her garden party, now ruined by blood and amniotic fluid and my screams. You did this on purpose, she hissed at me. You couldn't stand Hannah having attention for one day. Marcus's head snapped up. I'd never seen that expression on his face before.
Pure un diluted rage.
Get away from her, he said, his voice deadly quiet. Get away from my wife right now. Don't you dare speak to me like. Get away. Marcus roared. The entire crowd went silent. You pushed her, Marcus continued, his voice shaking. I saw you from the driveway. You pushed your pregnant daughter, and now she's bleeding. Patricia's face drained of all color. That's not, I didn't. There are 60 witnesses here, Marcus said, standing up slowly. He pulled out his phone. And, you know what? Security cameras. Your property has security cameras everywhere, doesn't it, Robert? My father, who'd been standing frozen near the tent entrance, visibly flinched. Those cameras caught everything, Marcus said. You pushing Lauren. Her falling. All of it. And if anything happens to my wife or my child, I will make sure every news outlet in Oregon sees that footage. The Mitchell family, wealthy hotel owners, assaulting their pregnant daughter at a baby shower. How's that for publicity? The ambulance arrived, sirens wailing. Paramedics rushed over with a stretcher. Marcus held my hand as they loaded me up, his jaw clenched so tight, I thought his teeth might crack. Don't leave me, I whimpered. Never, he promised. I'm riding with you. As they wheeled me toward the ambulance, I caught a glimpse of Hannah. She sat in her flower-adorned throne, hands on her small belly, looking utterly stunned. For just a moment, our eyes met, and I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt? Horror? I couldn't tell. Patricia tried to follow us to the ambulance, but Marcus blocked her path. Mr. Chin, she started, her voice trembling. I think there's been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Marcus laughed, the sound bitter and cold. A misunderstanding is mixing up a coffee order. This is assault. This is endangerment. And trust me, Mrs. Mitchell, the only thing I'm trying to understand right now is whether to press criminal charges or just sue you into the ground. You can't. Watch me, Marcus said. You want to know what I did while Lauren was getting ready this morning? I updated our wills. I made sure that if anything happens to either of us, you and Robert get nothing. No custody rights.
No visitation.
You'll never meet your grandchild. Patricia swayed on her feet, gripping a nearby chair for support. You can't keep family apart. You did that yourself when you pushed your daughter, Marcus replied coldly. He climbed into the ambulance and took my hand again. The ride to the hospital was a blur of pain and fear. I was hemorrhaging. The paramedics explained that the fall had caused something called placental abruption. The placenta was separating from my uterus. My baby was in distress. Emergency C-section, someone said. Prep or two. Everything moved impossibly fast after that. Bright lights, surgical masks, Marcus's terrified eyes above his own mask as they let him into the operating room. The anesthesiologist talking me through the epidural, then blessed numbness from the chest down. Is the baby okay? I kept asking. Please, is the baby okay? We're working on it, a doctor said. Try to stay calm, Lauren. I felt pressure, tugging, strange movement. Then the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard in my life. A sharp, angry cry. It's a girl, the doctor announced, holding up this tiny, red-faced baby. She's small, but she's breathing on her own. Lauren, you have a daughter. They whisked her away to the NICU team before I could even hold her. Marcus followed, leaving me on the surgical table while they stitched me back together. I stared at the ceiling, tears streaming down into my hair, praying to anyone who would listen. An hour later, I was in recovery. Marcus appeared beside my bed, his face exhausted but split by the biggest smile I'd ever seen on him. She's 5 pounds, 3 ounces, he said. Small but strong. They're monitoring her in the NICU, but the doctors think she'll be fine. Lauren, our daughter is going to be fine. I broke down sobbing, relief flooding through me like warm water. Can I see her? Once you're stable, they'll will you down, Marcus promised. She's beautiful. She has your nose. The next few hours were a haze of medical checks and NICU visits. Our daughter, whom we named Sophia Grace Chen, was indeed small but fierce. She gripped my finger with surprising strength when I finally got to hold her. 3 weeks early, born from trauma, but alive and fighting. My parents tried to visit. I told the hospital staff I didn't want to see them. They respected my wishes as the patient. Security made sure Patricia and Robert couldn't get past the maternity ward entrance. Patricia sent flowers with a card that read, "We should talk." Marcus threw them in the trash without even showing me. The legal process started immediately. Marcus hired a lawyer that very evening while I was still in the hospital. The hospital documented my injuries, bruising on my shoulder where Patricia had gripped me, the impact trauma from the fall, the emergency C-section necessitated by the abruption. The paramedics provided statements about what they'd witnessed at the scene. Most importantly, Marcus obtained the security footage for my parents' property. It took some legal maneuvering and an emergency court order, but his lawyer got it. The footage was absolutely damning. Crystal clear video of Patricia shoving me falling, the impact, everything. There was no way to spin it as an accident. Marcus didn't just threaten legal action. He executed it with precision. Within days, he'd hired a high-powered attorney who immediately filed for a court order to preserve all security footage from my parents' property. The legal move was swift and strategic, preventing any possibility of the evidence being deleted or mysteriously lost. When the footage was officially subpoenaed and handed over through proper legal channels, even the lawyers looked shaken watching it. News spread fast. Someone at the hospital leaked the story to a local news outlet. Within days, it was everywhere. Wealthy hotel owners accused of assaulting pregnant daughter at baby shower. The security footage, though not released publicly, was viewed by enough people in the legal system that details leaked out. The court of public opinion was swift and absolutely merciless. Patricia's charity board positions evaporated overnight. Robert's business partners started distancing themselves. Reviews for their hotels plummeted as people left comments about the family's character. Hannah's engagement photos were removed from social media after commenters bombarded her accounts with criticism. My parents' lawyer tried to negotiate a settlement. Marcus refused. This was going to trial. 3 weeks after Sophia's birth, as I was recovering at home with my daughter sleeping in her bassinet beside me, Hannah showed up at my door. She looked terrible, her pregnancy glow replaced by dark circles and stress lines. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. I should have said no. Should have slammed the door in her face. But she was my sister, and some self-destructive part of me wanted to hear what she had to say. I let her in. Hannah sat on my couch, looking small despite her growing belly. "I didn't know Mom was going to push you," she started. "I swear, Lauren, I didn't know." "But you knew everything else," I said. "You knew they made me wait outside. You knew I was standing there pregnant and in pain while you took your sweet time shopping." Drew wanted to stop for her. "I don't care." I cut her off. "You're 27 years old, Hannah. When do you stop being their precious baby and start being an adult who takes responsibility?" Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry." "Are you? Or are you just sorry because now there are consequences? Because people are calling you names online? Because your perfect life is falling apart? That's not fair." "What's not fair?" I said, my voice rising, "is that I spent my entire life being invisible. What's not fair is that I had to beg for scraps of attention while you got everything handed to you. What's not fair is that our mother pushed me hard enough to send me into emergency labor and you sat in your flower chair looking concerned while I bled on the ground." "What was I supposed to do?" Hannah cried. "She's my mother too. You could have checked on me," I said simply. "You could have asked if I was okay. You could have said something, anything, that acknowledged I was your sister and I was hurt. But you didn't. You just sat there." Hannah stood up, tears streaming down her face. "I love you, Lauren. You're my sister." "No," I said coldly. "Sisters are there for each other. Sisters don't watch their siblings suffer and do nothing. You want a relationship with me? With my daughter? Then you need to figure out who you are when mommy and daddy aren't cushioning every fall. Until then, stay away from us." She left crying. I didn't feel as satisfied as I thought I would. The criminal assault charge was filed 2 weeks later after the district attorney reviewed all the evidence. Patricia was arrested at her home, processed, and released on bail within hours. The mugshot leaked almost immediately. My mother, who'd built her entire identity on pristine appearances and social standing, looked haggard and old in that photo. The arraignment was brief. Patricia pled not guilty. But the preliminary hearing several weeks later was a circus. News vans camped outside the courthouse. Patricia arrived in designer sunglasses and a black dress, playing the grieving mother. Their lawyer looked confident until the prosecution played the security footage in open court. The judge, an older woman named Ruth Campbell, watched without expression. When it ended, she looked at Patricia over her reading glasses. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm a mother and a grandmother. What I just witnessed turns my stomach. Bail will continue, but you are not to contact the victims in any way. Do you understand? Patricia nodded, her face white as paper. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Marcus shielded me with his body, but one reporter's question cut through the noise. Mrs. Chun, what do you want people to know about this case? I stopped. Marcus tensed beside me, but I looked directly at the camera. I want people to know that abuse doesn't always look like what you expect. Sometimes it's decades of being erased, ignored, and diminished. Sometimes it builds up until one shove sends you and your baby into a medical emergency. And sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones who should love you most. The clip went viral. The civil lawsuit was filed a month later, outlining everything: medical expenses, pain and suffering, loss of familial support, emotional distress, and endangerment of our child. $2 million. For me, it wasn't about the money. It was about consequences. My parents had operated their entire lives without real consequences for their favoritism. The discovery phase was brutal. My lawyer subpoenaed years of financial records showing the disparity in how my parents spent money on Hannah versus me. College tuition paid in full for her, none for me. A car for her 16th birthday, nothing for mine. Hannah's wedding budget, $150,000. Mine, $5,000, which we paid ourselves. The numbers were damning. Over 20 years, my parents had spent approximately $700,000 more on Hannah than on me. The criminal trial took 8 months to reach court. In that time, my parents' hotel chain continued to hemorrhage business. 2 properties closed permanently. Robert was forced into early retirement. In court, the jury watched Patricia push me on that large screen. Watched me fall. Watched the blood and chaos. Several jurors looked physically ill. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on assault charges. Patricia was sentenced to 18 months in prison, suspended to 1 year of house arrest, 5 years probation, and mandatory anger management counseling. She was also ordered to have no contact with me or my family. The civil trial followed 2 months later. That jury deliberated for 5 hours and awarded us $1.6 million in damages. Not the full $2 million, but more than enough. My father paid it without contest, probably hoping to end the nightmare. But money couldn't fix what was broken. A year after both trials concluded, Patricia sent a 10-page letter, full of excuses, justifications, and half-hearted apologies. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't push you that hard. You're exaggerating the trauma. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. 3 years later, Robert had a heart attack. He survived, but it left him weakened. Through mutual acquaintances, I heard that Patricia wanted to reconcile, that they wanted to meet their granddaughter. Marcus left the decision to me. They're your parents. Whatever you choose, I'll support. I thought about it for a long time. Thought about forgiveness and family and whether blood really meant something. I watched Sophia, now 3 years old and bright as sunshine, playing with her blocks, completely unaware of the dysfunction that had preceded her birth. In the end, I wrote one letter back. You didn't push me that hard, I wrote. You're right. You pushed me my entire life. Out of your attention, out of your priorities, out of your heart. The physical push was just the culmination of 30 years of emotional shoves. I'm done being pushed. Sophia deserves grandparents who see her, who value her, who wouldn't sacrifice her well-being for convenience. You've proven you're not those people. Don't contact us again. I never heard from them after that. Hannah reached out sporadically over the years. Awkward emails, birthday cards for Sophia that I didn't throw away, but didn't display either. She had her baby, a boy named Tyler. From what I gathered through the grapevine, she'd cut ties with Patricia and Robert too. Maybe she finally grew up. Maybe she realized what enabling their toxicity had cost her. I didn't reach back. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ash. Marcus and I had another child 3 years after Sophia, a son we named James. We moved to Seattle for Marcus's job, putting physical distance between us and the wreckage of the Mitchell family. We built our own family, with our own traditions, where love was unconditional and attention wasn't a competition. Sophia is 7 now and James is 4. They're both smart and kind and have no idea that Sophia's birth was anything but celebrated. They know they have grandparents they don't see, but so do lots of kids. It's not unusual in their world. Sometimes I wonder if I'm depriving them of family. Then I remember standing outside that tent, 9 months pregnant and in pain, begging for a chair. I remember the disgust in my mother's eyes. I remember the blood and the fear and Marcus's rage as he protected us when no one else would. Family isn't just blood. It's who shows up, who protects you, who values you. My parents failed that test spectacularly. They made their choice when Patricia pushed me. I made mine when I decided Sophia would never feel the way I felt. Standing on the outside of love, looking in, looking back, that baby shower was both the worst day of my life and a twisted gift. It shattered any remaining illusions about my family. It showed me exactly who they were when tested. And it revealed the strength of the family I'd built with Marcus. the one that actually mattered. The Mitchell name used to mean something in Portland. Now it's synonymous with scandal and cruelty. Their hotels never recovered. Their social standing dissolved. Hannah lost her engagement and her trust fund when Robert's finances collapsed under legal fees and lost revenue. They lost everything that mattered to them. Status, reputation, wealth. I gained everything that truly matters. A husband who would burn the world down to protect me. 2 healthy children.
Peace.
Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting free. I'm free of their expectations, their favoritism, their conditional love. The price was high, but worth every penny of that settlement. And when Sophia asks about grandparents, I tell her the truth in terms she can understand. Some people aren't ready to be family. That's okay. We have all the family we need right here. She accepts this easily, the way children accept simple truths. She has Marcus's parents who dote on her and James with genuine affection. She has aunts and uncles from Marcus's side who come to her school plays and birthday parties. She has love in abundance. She doesn't need the Mitchells. Neither do I. 7 years have passed since that baby shower. I still have nightmares sometimes. Wake up with phantom pains, reliving the fall. Therapy has helped. Time has helped more. What helps most is looking at my children, healthy and happy, growing up in a home where they're equally loved. Where their value isn't determined by being the favorite. Where they're safe. That's the real revenge, I think. Not the lawsuit or the criminal charges or the destroyed reputation. It's building something better. Breaking the cycle. Choosing different. Patricia pushed me, but I landed somewhere better than where I'd been standing. Away from toxicity, into truth. I don't know what happened to the Mitchell family after we moved. I don't check their social media or ask mutual friends for updates. They exist in my past. A cautionary tale I'll someday share with my children about why we choose our battles and boundaries carefully. The scar from my C-section has faded to a thin silver line. Some scars do that. Others run deeper.
Invisible but permanent.
I carry both. But I also carry my children, my marriage, my heart in one piece. I carry the knowledge that when my mother pushed me, she pushed me right out of her dysfunction and into my own life, one she couldn't control or diminish. Marcus says that's the best revenge of all. Living well. Being happy. Refusing to let them take up space in our present while they rot in their own consequences. He's right.
He usually is.
Sophia just ran into the room holding a picture she drew at school. Mommy, look. It's our family. 4 stick figures holding hands, smiling under a bright sun. Marcus, me, Sophia, James. Complete and whole and enough. It's perfect, baby, I tell her. And I mean it. It really is.
Stay safe out there. Until next time.